Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to knit this cute little bag. This particular bag is on the smaller side, especially the bottom part. The bottom consists of 6 panels. But today we'll be making a slightly larger version with 8 panels and we'll start from the bottom. We begin by casting on stitches from the base. With this, we'll be using double strands of yarn. First, make a slip knot. Then place it onto the needle. Tighten it up, then knit 1 stitch into that loop and transfer it to the left needle. Like this. Now knit another one and move it over again. Make sure to pick up only 1 strand, not 2. We're casting on a total of 8 stitches. That's 26. Okay, once we've cast on 8 stitches, let's begin knitting the first row. For the first row, we knit all stitches. Knit the first stitch as well. Alright, once the first row is done, turn your work and start the wrong side. For the wrong side, skip knitting the first stitch. Just slip it purlwise with the working yarn above the needle. Slip it like this, yarn on top. Then purl the rest. After finishing the second row, let's move on to the third. For the third row, since it's a right side row again, just slip the first stitch knitwise. Slip it knitwise like this. Alright, I've finished knitting the 15 rows starting from this yarn tail. From this side, count down from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, including the bottom one. Altogether, there are 8 little chain bumps, including the very bottom one. We'll now pick up stitches along the side from these 8 little chains. Pick up 8 stitches by going through both loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last stitch, pick it up from the bottom here, right from inside this space here. When you pull on it later, it'll loosen up, it can move. Once you've picked up the 8th stitch, right where it moves, place a stitch marker onto that loop. Once the marker is in place, we'll move on to the second panel. The first one is done. Now we're working on the second panel, which is the same as the first one. Start the wrong side row by slipping the first stitch purlwise, then purl the rest. On the right side row, slip the first stitch knitwise, then knit the rest. We won't need 15 rows, we'll only do 14. Look here. After knitting across and back, you'll see a small chain bump. This one doesn't count just yet. We count from the one above the stitch marker, 7 bumps in total. So we only need to knit 14 rows. Remember to slip the first stitch every row. One pull back and forth row equals one little bump. So we'll knit until we have 7 of these bumps. Alright, look, here we already have 2 little bumps from 2 rows, that's 4 rows total. Once you finish the remaining 10 rows and have 7 bumps on the left edge, we'll move on to the next step. Alright, I've finished the second panel from the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with 7 bumps. We now pick up 7 stitches. The last stitch was picked up from the one with the stitch marker, so that means we only need to pick up 7 more in front. Alright, the 8th stitch will be picked up from the loop with the stitch marker. You can tuck the yarn tail underneath. Which is getting a bit cumbersome. So we'll switch to using a circular needle now. It doesn't have to be the same size as your original needles. If you have the same size, great. If not, you can use one slightly thinner, it's fine. Transfer the stitches from the first and second panels onto the circular needle. Alright, now that they're all on the circular needle, let's begin the third panel. The third panel is made the same way as the first and second. Repeat this until you have 7 chain bumps on the edge. Always maintain 8 stitches per panel, that doesn't change. Once you finish the third panel and have 7 chain bumps on the side, that's 14 rows total. Okay, third panel is done. Now let's pick up the stitches again from the side. Pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pick up 7 stitches total. Always pick up through both loops, then pick up the 8th from the stitch marker loop, just like before. So now we have 8 stitches again. Transfer it onto the circular needle. After that, begin working the fourth panel. The process is the same. If you're making the small 6-panel version, stop after 5 panels and I'll show you how to join them. If you want a larger one, like I'm making, continue until you have 7 panels completed. As for the size, it's up to you. Make it as big as you like. I need to knit 4 more panels. I have 3 so far. When we reach the 8th panel, we'll do the final joining. Alright, the final panel is now done. I plan to knit 8 panels and I've finished 7 so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After joining, that'll make 8. Now we'll knit the 8th panel. Start by picking up 1 stitch. From the edge, like we did earlier, everything here is the same as before. Seven stitches, and the last one comes from the loop with a stitch marker. Then transfer this last panel onto the circular needle. If you thread it first, then pull tight. This edge might end up too tight when you tack on the yarn, so it's better to pick up the stitches first, then transfer them. Okay, now we proceed just like before, starting from the right side. Now turn to the wrong side and knit 1 plain row without increasing or decreasing. Slip the first stitch, then purl the rest. Alright, after finishing that, it's time to join the final panel. Take this last panel, knit the first 7 stitches of the row. Leave the 8th stitch unknit, then go to this beginning edge, the cast on side. From here, pick up stitches along the edge, 7 in total, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You'll go up to the stitch marker, it's easy to find along the edge. Stop at the 7th bump, only pick up 7 stitches. Pick them up one by one onto a needle. Once picked up, leave this piece to the side. Now we continue knitting. It's the final panel. We've already knit 1 plain row. Same method, slip the first stitch, knit across. Let's knit 7 stitches, leaving the 8th stitch unworked. Now we pick up a stitch. From the left side panel, if you've done this before, you know what to do. Don't knit the last stitch, pick one up and knit them together. We'll do the same now. Pick up and hang it on the needle. Then knit the 2 stitches together. At this point, you no longer need the stitch marker. Now we're back to 8 stitches. That last stitch became part of the join. And work back as usual. You can use the same circular needle or switch to straight needles. I'll just keep using this one. Slip the first stitch, then purl the rest of the row. That's your 8 stitches, wrong side, no increases or decreases. Now back to the right side with 8 stitches. Same as before. Knit the first 7 stitches, slip the first, knit the rest. We've knitted 7 stitches, 2, 4, 6, 7. Now the 8th stitch will be joined with the left panel. We already joined one before, so now we're joining the second one. After joining, we still have 8 stitches on the needle, then turn the work. Now there are 5 stitches left to join on the other side. Continue knitting the wrong side, slip the first stitch and purl the rest. Back to the right side again, same as before, slip the first stitch, then knit the row. Join this last stitch with the next one on the left panel. Now 4 remain. So you can see 4 stitches left, right? Now for the final 2 stitches, knit them together, make sure to check. If you didn't pick them up earlier, just pick one up each time as needed. Each time, pick up from underneath and knit 2 together, then for the wrong side. Once again, knit the last stitch together with one from the left edge. Then turn back. There are just 2 more joins left. I won't show the rest. Go ahead and finish them yourself. Just keep going, knit across, join at the end, repeat on the other end until it's all joined. Alright, have a look. This is the last step. And now we're going to combine this stitch with the one next to it. Once that's done, we still have 8 stitches total. The side is all joined up. You'll notice there's a little hole in the center, but don't worry. Just pull on the tail of the yarn gently and it'll tighten right up, closing the gap nicely. That's it. The base of our bag is now completely finished and joined together. Next, we're ready to start knitting the second round, the second layer. The first one was our first layer, and now we're moving on to the second. For this second round, we'll be picking up stitches from the other direction, but still starting from the left side just like before. Now our yarn tail is on the right side, right? So what do? Let's knit across to bring the yarn over to the left. Just slip the first stitch as usual and knit across. This doesn't count as a new row. We're just moving the yarn. Once that's done, flip it over, and this side is complete. Now we'll move the stitches onto our circular needle. Once they're on, we're ready to pick up stitches for the second layer. We're picking up from the wrong side this time, but still starting from the left. Count the stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Perfect. So we'll pick up 8 stitches again, grabbing both loops to make it neater. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once you've picked up your 8 stitches, flip it over. We're on the right side now. This round, we're knitting without increasing or decreasing, just a plain knit row across. If your circular needle matches your working needle in size, just knit with it directly. Otherwise, grab another matching needle. After picking up stitches we knit straight, just pull this end of the circular needle and start knitting. Slip the stitch purlwise. Knit the rest here. After finishing those 8, turn your work. I picked up 8 stitches here on the wrong side. That added 8 more stitches. So if you add 1 here, you'll end up adding extra sections all around the row. That won't work. It'll turn into a big floppy mess. So after picking up these 8 stitches, we need to work them together. With the 8 stitches to the left on the wrong side, that whole section will become a new panel. So we need to knit this panel and join it. We'll join it the same way as before. Slip the stitch purlwise, then knit the next stitch. Knit 7 stitches. Then knit the 8th stitch together with the one from the left panel, drop 1 stitch and knit directly. After merging, don't knit forward. Then turn your work. Always merge with the stitch on the left. Now on the reverse side, it's time to merge. Pick up the first stitch with the last stitch, that is with the 8th stitch. Look, 2, 4, 6, 7, the 8th stitch is here. There's a small gap, merge with the stitch on its left. Knit 2 stitches together. After merging, don't knit forward, turn your work. Same as before, purl 1 stitch on the return. On the front side, knit 1 row evenly. This is just like how we picked up stitches earlier. Just like the last part of the first layer. The only difference is that this is the reverse side, right? Pick up the first stitch. The following stitches are purls. When 1 stitch remains, knit it together with the stitch on the left. Then continue. Purl the first stitch. Now go to the reverse side. Follow this method, keep merging until all 8 stitches on the left are completely merged. Alright, we're at the final stitch. See that gap, the last stitch? Knit 2 stitches together. Once that's done, we've completed all the merges. After finishing the merges, we don't need to knit back, just pick up stitches directly. Last time, when we knitted back, that was for the 9th section, right? We had to knit back after merging. But now at this point, there's no need to knit back. Just go ahead and pick up stitches directly. Still in reverse side, start from the left side. Pick up 8 stitches from the left. No need to knit back at this stage. After merging, immediately turn your work. Only at the end of each layer. Just pick up stitches directly, so after picking up 8 stitches, 2, 4, 6, 8. This section is done, we don't need it anymore, transfer it onto the circular needle. Alright, pull it over. Once it's transferred, We're on the reverse side now, so knit one row evenly on the front side. Use the circular needle to knit. Stitches picked from the reverse, knit them on the front. Knit one full row, no increase or decrease. After finishing, turn your work. You picked up 8 stitches on the reverse side, right? Now merge this section. So same process. Once finished, knit the 8th stitch together with the stitch on the left. Don't knit forward after merging, turn your work. Just like before, purl the first stitch. Alright, that row's done. Now turn again. Now this side. 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 8 stitches here. Same thing again. Knit the first 7 stitches. The 8th stitch is clearly visible here. There's a gap here. Merge it with the stitch on the left. It's the same as the section we just knitted. Right after finishing the first layer earlier, we started the first section of the second layer. Attach a stitch marker here. Each first section of every layer should have a marker. Now back on the front side again, purl the first stitch. Alright, flip it over again. Now the last remaining stitch, merge it with the one on the left. Just follow this method and finish this entire section. Once it's done, immediately pick up stitches, no need to knit back. Every section is worked the same way. For the second layer, there's no more picking up and seaming. Now each section is just seamed directly. We seam every piece, right? All facing the same direction. Just follow the same method throughout. After the final decrease, pick up stitches right away. After picking up, knit one straight row, no increases or decreases. Now this is the wrong side, so we'll decrease on the wrong side, merge on the wrong side, just like I'm doing now. Alright, my second layer has 8 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Every piece in the second layer faces this direction. Now it's time to start the third layer. We'll pick up stitches from the front side here. Pick up from the last section. But look at the working yarn, it's on this side right now, so we need to knit across to the other side, just like before. After finishing the last piece of any layer, you'll need to knit the yarn across. So for layer 2, all 8 pieces are worked exactly the same way. Only the last piece requires the extra knit across. That's the only one needing this step to reposition the yarn. After knitting across, the second layer is now completely finished. Once done, transfer it to the circular needle. No more knitting for this part. Now we'll begin knitting the third layer. For the layer 1, we picked from the front left. Layer 2 was picked from the back side. Layer 3 is picked from the front again. Look at the small braids on this side. There's one extra loop now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One extra. What to do? We only want to pick 8 stitches, so skip the first one. Start picking from the second. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So skipping one makes it just right. Pick 8 stitches, skip the first, pick 8, flip it over, knit 1 row. Use the circular needle on the left side to knit. Just knit a straight row. First stitch, pick up, same as always. Pick up the first stitch, and now we're at the last stitch. Isn't it? This is the wrong side row. Pick up stitches on the right side. Now knit 1 plain row on the wrong side with no increases or decreases. Then we return to the right side. It's time to merge stitches. We picked stitches on the right side, so we merge on the right side. Slip the first stitch, don't knit it. Knit 7 stitches, then there's 1 stitch left. Merge it with the one on the left. So 2, 4, 6, 7, the 8th stitch, merge it with the adjacent stitch. Alright, flip it over. On the reverse, plain knitting, slip the first stitch. You can clearly see it. It's the 8th stitch merged with the adjacent one, then flip the work again. Again, purl the first stitch. Now flip it again, back to the front side, purl the first stitch, don't knit it. We're at the final stitch now, again knit 2 together. And with that, this section is complete. That was the first piece of layer 3. Let's mark it with a stitch marker. This shows it's the first section of layer 3. These layers all knitted in the same direction. See how layer 2 went this way? Layer 3, like layer 1, goes this way. Like in the first piece, there will be 9 small loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Skip the first one again. Start from the second. Still pick up 8 stitches, no matter how many loops we see. Skip the first loop, pick the rest, pick 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Then this section is done. Transfer it to the circular needle. Now we picked stitches from the front, so knit plain row on the back. Flip the work. Again, slip the first stitch. Alright, that plain row is done. Now back to the front. On the front, time to merge again. Slip onto the left needle, knit 2 together. After merging, go back to the reverse side. Pick from the front, then just knit plain rows on the reverse. Flip to the front again. Time to merge again. Slip the first stitch, then knit the rest. I've just finished knitting the 8th piece of the 3rd layer. After finishing all 8 sections, we're now ready to begin the 4th layer. The method for the 4th layer is exactly the same as the 2nd layer. We'll start picking up stitches from the reverse side. Since the working yarn is currently on this side, we need to knit it to the opposite side. Pick up the first stitch, then knit across to the end. That completes the final piece of the 3rd layer. Now let's transfer it onto the circular needle. We always pick up stitches from the left side. So we'll start here. There should be 9 small bumps. Chain stitches to pick from. Skip the first one and begin from the second. Pick up 8 stitches, catching both strands of yarn for each. Once the 8 stitches are picked up, turn to the front side. Knit across without increasing or decreasing, just a straight row. If you're using the same size needles, you can knit directly. Slip the first stitch without knitting, then knit all remaining stitches in that row. Next, turn to the wrong side. Again, slip the first stitch, then purl the rest. At the end of the row, purl 2 stitches together, the 8th stitch with one from the left side to decrease. Even after decreasing, you'll still have 8 stitches on the needle. Turn back to the right side and repeat. Slip the first stitch, knit the rest. Slip again to the wrong side, slip the first stitch, purl to the end, then decrease the last stitch as before. This method is identical to what we did in the second layer. As before, skip the first small bump and start picking up stitches from the second one. Pick up 8 stitches in total. Being careful to keep the tension even and avoid pulling too tightly. Once you've picked up the stitches, knit one straight row on the front side without increasing or decreasing. Keep the edge stitch snug to maintain a clean edge. After finishing that row, turn to the wrong side, slip the first stitch, purl the next 6, and purl the 8th together with the adjacent stitch on the left to decrease. Then turn the work again and repeat. The process is identical to what we did in the second layer. If you're already familiar with that, you can continue without needing to revisit every step. Just keep repeating this pattern, straight knitting on the front, decreasing one stitch on the back until you've completed all pieces in the fourth layer. After working through all 8 sections, you'll reach the final piece. Once the last 2 stitches are pulled together, that completes the fourth layer. Place all stitches onto the circular needle. The fifth layer begins from the front side, opposite of the fourth. As before, you'll need to knit the working yarn across to the other end before picking up stitches. Pick up stitches from the left side again. Skip the first bump and pick up 8 stitches starting from the second, same as in previous layers. This time, because we're picking up on the front side, the first row on the back will be a straight purl row, no increases or decreases. Slip the first stitch, then purl the remaining stitches using the same needle. Since we picked up stitches on the front side, we'll now decrease from the front. Knit the first 7 stitches, then knit the 8th together with a stitch from the left section. This joins them. Don't knit another row after decreasing. Instead, turn your work right away. On the wrong side, slip the first stitch and purl the rest. A straight row without increases or decreases. Repeat this process. Decrease on the front, straight purl row on the back. This method is exactly the same as we used in the third layer. After finishing each new section, mark it with a stitch marker. Pick up 8 stitches from the next set of bumps, skipping the first one, and continue the same pattern. Knit the first 7 stitches, then knit the 8th together with a stitch from the left. After each front side decrease, turn the work and purl across. Now we're starting the final section of the fifth layer. This part is important because when you pick up stitches here, the gap between sections will be more noticeable. After picking up the usual 8 stitches, you'll need to pay close attention to how you handle the tension to minimize the gap. Now that we've picked up 8 stitches for the last section of the fifth layer, we continue as usual. Turn the work, slip the first stitch, and purl the rest. Same method as before. Since this is the last section, you might notice a larger gap between joints. To fix this, pick up a loop from below the gap, place it on the needle, and work a 3-stitch decrease. Knit 3 together instead of 2. This closes the gap neatly before continuing. This technique can be used anytime you finish the last piece of a layer and see a noticeable gap, especially in the 4th, 5th, or 6th layers. Pick up an extra loop and decrease it in to tighten the join. Once the 5th layer is complete, assess the bag's depth. If it still feels shallow, you can knit an extra layer. For this small bag, the pattern uses 6 layers of triangles. If you're making a larger bag, feel free to add a 6th full layer before shaping the top. I've now finished knitting the 6th layer. If you're making a small bag, you typically start the triangle shaping at the 6th layer. Since I'm making a larger bag, I've completed 6 full layers, and I'll begin shaping the triangle in the 7th layer. Of course, you can adjust this based on your preference. If you want your bag deeper, feel free to add another layer. Now that I've finished the 6th layer, it's time to start the 7th. The stitch picking method is the same as we used in the 3rd and 5th layers. We pick up stitches from the front side. If you're knitting a small bag and shaping the triangle in the 6th layer, you'll be picking up stitches from the wrong side instead. For my bag, since I'm working from the front, I need to move the working yarn to the other side before I can begin picking up stitches. This is just like we've done in earlier layers. Once the yarn is carried across and the section is complete, transfer the stitches onto the circular needle. Now we can begin picking up stitches to shape the triangle. Again, this is the 7th layer for my project, so we pick up from the front. And if you're on your 6th layer and making a small bag, you'd pick up stitches from the wrong side. We'll now begin picking up 8 stitches, one from each of the chain-like bumps along the edge. Once you've picked up 8 stitches, turn to the wrong side to start knitting the triangle. This triangle is shaped by decreasing on both sides. On one side, decrease as we did before by knitting 2 stitches together. On the other side, we also reduce stitches. This is the only difference from earlier layers. So after picking up stitches and turning your work, wrong side row, slip the first stitch, knit the next stitches as usual until you reach the last 2, knit the last 2 together. Right side row, slip the first stitch, knit across until 2 stitches remain, knit the final 2 together. If you notice a gap between joints while decreasing at the edge, you can pick up an extra loop of yarn from below and include it in the decrease. Knit 3 together to close it up neatly. If the gap is small, you can skip this. Repeat this process, always decreasing 1 stitch on each side of the triangle. Each time you turn the work, reduce the total stitch count by 2. Eventually, you'll be left with just 2 stitches. Knit them together to finish the triangle. This process is just like the previous decrease method, but now you're shaping both edges to form the triangle. Now we're down to the last few stitches. Knit the final stitch together with the attention stitch on the left to decrease, then turn your work. Slip the first stitch, knit the rest as usual. And when you reach the end, decrease by knitting 2 together again. Repeat this process. Slip the first stitch, knit across. At the end of each row, knit 2 stitches together. You'll continue like this until you're left with only 2 stitches on the needle. Knit those together to reduce to 1. Now you can see the triangle shape starting to form. Bit by bit, it becomes more defined with each decrease. After finishing the triangle, you'll be left with just one stitch. That means the triangle section is complete. Now it's time to pick up stitches for the next triangle. As before, skip the first bump and begin from the second, picking up 8 stitches total from the edge. If you notice, you've picked up one extra stitch by mistake, for example 9 instead of 8. Simply decrease by knitting 2 stitches together to get back to 8. Every section should start with 8 stitches, so repeat this picking up and decreasing process for each triangle. After picking up 8 stitches, make sure to pick up both strands, not just one. Turn your work. Begin the triangle just like before. First row, right side, slip the first stitch, knit the next 6 stitches as normal. For the 7th and 8th stitches, wrap the yarn down and knit them together. You now have 7 stitches on the needle. Second row, wrong side, slip the first stitch, wrap the yarn down, and purl the next 5 stitches. Knit the last 2 stitches together. This is your second decrease. You're now left with 6 stitches. Continue in this fashion. Slip the first stitch each row, knit or purl across. Always decrease the last 2 stitches of the row by knitting them together. Alternate front and back rows. As you repeat this, the stitch count will reduce like this: 8, 7, 6, 5, until only one stitch remains. Throughout, wrapping the yarn down means placing it to the front of the work before knitting or purling. This maintains clean edges. When you get to the last 2 stitches, knit them together. That leaves 1 stitch. Triangle completed. Now you're ready to pick up the next 8 stitches for the following triangle and repeat the same process. All the triangle sections are now complete. Each triangle should create 9 little chain-like bumps along the edge. You can count them 1, 2, 3, up to 9 to pick up stitches around the opening. If you want a larger opening, pick up 1 stitch from every bump. If you want a tighter opening, you can skip a bump occasionally. For example, pick up only 8 stitches per triangle instead of 9. Use knit stitches, not purl, when picking up, and be sure to pick up both strands of each bump to make the edge stronger and neater. Work your way around the opening, picking up stitches in this way. Once all stitches are picked up, begin one by one ribbing. Knit 1, purl 1 around the entire row. Continue for 2 or 3 rounds or more if you prefer a wider edge. After finishing the ribbing, begin a regular bind off. Knit 1 stitch, knit the next, then pass the first stitch over the second to bind off. Continue across the round. A little tip here, don't bind off too loosely or the edge will flare out and look untidy. Now that the top edge is done, it's time to knit the back strap. The sample used 8 stitches for the strap. Knit it as a long strip. Stockinette will cause it to curl into a tube naturally. If you want a thinner strap, use fewer stitches, for example 6 for a wider strap. Add a couple more stitches. You can now pick up 1 stitch to begin. Okay, we'll knit it like this. For the ripped edge, just alternate between knit and purl stitches. You can do 2 or 3 rounds or more if you want it wider. I did 2 rounds for mine. Once you're happy with the ribbing, we'll start decreasing. So just keep knitting. 1 knit, 1 purl, knit the knit stitches and purl the purl stitches. Continue this pattern until it reaches the width you like. No need to overthink it. If it looks good to you, that's perfect. I won't repeat this part further. Now let's move on to binding off. I've finished my ribbing. I did 3 rounds. You can do 4 or however many you like. Now we'll bind off the stitches evenly. Start by knitting 1 stitch, then another, and pass the first stitch over the second. Don't make the bind off too loose or the edge will be too big. Just continue binding off this way all the way around. Knit 1, pass the previous stitch over. Just a simple bind off. Keep going until all stitches are bound off. I've finished binding off. Now we can knit the strap for the back. For the strap, I cast on 8 stitches and knit it straight. As you go, it will naturally curl into a knit tube. If you want it thinner, cast on fewer stitches. For a thicker strap, cast on more. Adjust to your liking. I'm casting on 1 more now. That's 3 stitches. You can also pick up just 1 strand of yarn instead of both if it's too tight. You don't need to pick both sides of the chain stitch. Picking one side is fine here. Now I've got 6 stitches. Earlier we picked up both sides of the chain, but this edge is tighter, so picking one side works better. Now I've got 8 stitches. That's what I used, but feel free to adjust depending on the look you want. Once you've picked up your stitches, turn the work around. Slip the first stitch without knitting and purl the rest. Always slip the first stitch on each row. It helps keep the edges neat. Keep purling across, then turn it around again. Keep knitting back and forth like this. Knit one row per the next until your strap reaches the length you want. Try it on as you go to see if it's the right fit. If you're making a crossbody bag, you might want a narrower strap. Maybe cast on just 6 stitches and knit it longer. Feel free to adjust everything to your liking. I won't repeat the whole process, just follow the same method and knit the strap to the length you want. Once you're happy with the length, I'll show you how to attach it to the bag. Alright, I've finished knitting my strap. Mine is around 25 to 26 centimeters, but you can make it longer or shorter as you prefer. Now let's attach it to the bag. First, fold the strap in half and align both ends evenly. Pinch the needle point and mark it. Since my strap is 8 stitches wide, I'll attach 4 stitches to each side of the bag. Find the center point on the back and mark it, then pick up 4 stitches on each side of the point. Flip the strap so the loose end is on the left side, then bring it around to where it needs to be joined. Pull on the yarn a bit to find your first stitch. We'll sew the strap on by working 1 stitch from the strap, then 1 from the back, kind of like a matches stitch. Only pick up 1 side of the chain stitch on the back. 2 sides can make it too tight, but if 2 strands work better for you, that's okay too. Keep sewing 1 from the strap, 1 from the back. If it's tricky, take your time and do it one by one. We're joining 8 stitches here, so go slowly and make sure it's even. It's really simple. Once all 8 stitches are sewn down, you're done with this side. Now cut the yarn and pull the tail through the inside of the bag. Thread it through a darning needle, then weave the tail into the stitches to hide it. Weave it in a few extra times, especially if the yarn is slippery, so it stays secure. You can even backstitch once and tie a small knot to lock it in place, then trim the end. Cut it a little short, but remember to use a lighter to carefully seal the end so it doesn't unravel. And that's it, the strap is attached. Now let's make the leaf. This one is made with 11 stitches, but you can also increase to 13 or 15 stitches if you want it larger. The leaf is double-sided with one string in the middle and a leaf on each end. If you don't want to attach new yarn midway, you can use a single long strand. Leave about 10 meters at the start for both leaves. To cast on, hold the yarn over the needle, wrap it around once or twice, and use the working yarn from the ball to begin casting on stitches. Cast on 3 stitches to start, using the single strand method. Then knit all 3 stitches in stockinette. Just knit stitches for now. After each row, slide the stitches to the other side of the needle and keep knitting from the same direction. This way, you form a little tube. Make sure to pull the yarn slightly tighter in the second stitch to keep the shape neat. Repeat this back and forth process, always knitting 3 stitches and sliding them until the cord reaches your desired length. Around 15 centimeters works well. Once the cord is long enough, we'll start the first leaf. Flip your work and you'll see 2 yarn strands from the base. Pick them up onto a needle and start working from there. Using a second needle, insert into the stitches and knit 1. Then do a yarn over to increase, knit 1 more. and another yarn over. You should now have 3 stitches on the needle. Place a stitch marker to keep track of the start of your route. Now we'll start shaping the leaf by increasing every other row. Knit the first stitch, then yarn over. Knit the middle stitch, yarn over again, and finish the last stitch. That turns 3 stitches into 5. On the next row, knit all 5 stitches, no increases this time. Turn your work and repeat this process. Increase on one row, knit flat on the next. Each time, add stitches to either side of the center stitch. until you reach your desired width, 11, 13, or even 15 stitches, depending on your preference. For smaller bags, 11 stitches is enough. Larger bags might look better with 13 or 15 stitches. Once you've reached the maximum width, knit 1 to 2 rows without increases to finish shaping. So after your final increase row, knit 2 plain rows, no more increases. This helps form the top curve of the leaf. Keep knitting all stitches in stockinette, just knit stitches for those final rounds. And that completes the shaping of one half of the leaf. Once you've knit to the widest point of the leaf, it's time to start decreasing. Just like we increased every other row, now we'll decrease every other row. Turn your work and we'll start decreasing from one side. Slip the first stitch, knit the next, then pass the slipped stitch over. That's one decrease. Keep knitting across. And when you reach the last 2 stitches, knit them together. That way, you decrease 1 stitch on each side. Repeat the same process on the other half of the leaf. Slip the first stitch, knit 1, pass the slipped stitch over, then knit to the end, and again knit the last 2 stitches together. On the following row, no decreases, just knit all stitches. So again, alternate rows, one row with decreases on both sides, the next row plain. Keep going like that until you're down to just 3 stitches on each half. Once you reach 3 stitches, knit one more plain row without decreasing. Then decrease those 3 stitches into 1. Slip the first 2 stitches without knitting. Knit the third, then pass the 2 slipped stitches over. Do the same on the other side. Now you have 1 stitch left on each needle. Knit those 2 together. And that completes your leaf. Cut the yarn and pull it through the stitch to secure. Use the darning needle to weave the yarn tail into the back of the work. Trim the extra and carefully seal the end with the lighter to prevent fraying. And that's your first leaf done. Now for the other end, flip the cord and pick up 3 stitches just like before. Knit a few rows, then add 2 more stitches just as we did earlier, bringing the total to 3 again for the base of the second leaf. From here, follow the exact same steps to create the second leaf. Increase on both sides every other row until you reach your desired width, then decrease down just like the first. Once you're done, your double leaf tie is ready. Wrap it around your back strap and tie or loop it however you like. If it's too long, you can wrap it around one more time for a neat finish. That's it. Now it's your turn to finish it up.